Guess what? It was recently traced to a crime. Guess who's got to respond to that? The FFL. It was ATF that ran fast and furious. 2,000 guns. 2,000 guns. And this one recently turned up in a crime. And now you're coming back to the FFL saying, well, hey, who did you sell it to? Well, I sold it to an ATF agent. Where did it go? Well, you guys had guns stolen from you. So I want to know this. How many other guns from Operation Fast and Furious remain unaccounted for?
Operation Fast and Furious has been the subject of numerous reports, and I do not have.
So you don't know. Just
I don't have the specific answer. I can get back to you if there's sources.
You don't know because there were over 2,000 guns. Last report that was published was that you'd recovered 700 of them. Mexico reported 150 people killed or maimed with guns that ATF had. Fast and Furious. That's what the radical left Democrats thought was a great program. So don't elaborate and try to say, oh, hey, guess what? You know what? I can get you numbers. I would like those numbers. Because I also want to know this. How many guns walked away altogether from ATF?
Since Fast and Furious.
During Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious, which was, I think, 15 years ago, there were reports I can check and get back to you with the public record, but we have implemented numerous controls to try and make sure that we're respecting public safety.
But what happened earlier today, it was just reported this year, the IG said that you still haven't implemented enough reforms, guidelines to watch over to make sure you were the victim of how many guns were stolen from you guys?
Most of the items that were stolen from the National Destruction Branch, which what I think you're referring to, were parts, were firearm components. There were some number of firearms that were also stolen.
You're not going to tell us the number?
And I don't know sitting here the exact number of
How many guns from Fast and Furious were recovered at crime scenes?
Again, I don't want.
How many FFLs are you inspecting today because they sold to ATF during Fast and Furious? Do you know that?
I don't believe we're inspecting any FFLs today.
Well, sure you are. Sure you are.
Because I've had. Please allow me to finish. Because of any conduct that relates in any way, shape, or form to Fast and Furious.
Well, sure you are, because I know, because an FFL contacted me and showed me the docs. You guys are inspecting and going after an FFL who sold to ATF.
I'm sorry if I misunderstood. I thought your question was, are we inspecting people because of conduct in Fast and Furious? It would be 15 years since it would be normal, which is normal course of business to inspect a federally licensed firearms dealer once a decade.
But the problem that we have here, and this is just one of many FFLs that are undergoing rigorous problems from you guys. This is an FFL that's sold to an ATF agent. The ATF lost track of that weapon. It gets used in a crime, and now he's having to respond. Why isn't ATF having to respond? Because it gets back to the hypocrisy of your zero tolerance policy. You guys can't live up to your own requirements and guidelines, but you're going to go after FFLs. How about this one? We have a case where a customer of an FFL who's an American citizen of Armenian descent visited by ATF agents seeking information about his legal firearm purchases. When asked why they wanted to know about his firearm purchases, agents told him that it was because he was born in Iran and had purchased multiple firearms from that FFL. Think about that. How about this one, a different FFL? They have video cameras everywhere. They have one room. The ATF inspector goes in, takes the documents with him, and on their personal phone starts taking pictures of all the documents, personal phone. Is that normal? Is that normal to use your personal phone?
Again, I'm not familiar with the facts and circumstances of that.
Is that normal?
Matter,
is that part of you guys?
But We conduct our inspections pursuant to a procedure. It is a public procedure, and we follow that procedure in conducting those.
Including personal phones of your inspectors.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California for 5 minutes.
Director, okay. Watch this stuff.
Director Edo here. Director, our kids are dying. They're dying in their schools, they're dying in their communities, and if they're not dying, they're drilling. Every day in America, kids are going through traumatizing mass shooter drills. So it's just maddening to me that this committee, as our kids are dying, with the responsibility of protecting our kids, the greatest resource in our community, that they would bring you here and attack you, whose job is to protect our kids. I look at this as very binary. You can protect your home, you can take your kids hunting, you can shoot for sport, but if you're not on the side of protecting our kids, you're on the side of helping their killers. That's it. You either can help the kids or help the killers. But I also fear that this rhetoric from my colleagues is putting targets on the backs of law enforcement. Director Delabach, have you seen increased threats over the years to your agents and just federal law enforcement in general?
It is my deepest honor to be here representing the brave men and women, the career people who work at ATF every day. And what I will say is that attacks on political appointee, I understand, unfortunately, it's just become part of our country, but I would say those men and women who are out there doing their job, risking their lives to try to protect people in law enforcement and all of these functions at ATF, they deserve our respect and support. It is the greatest honor of my professional life to be able to sit here and call them colleagues, because they're incredibly brave, dedicated people. And they're not people who have been all personally involved, right? They're there because they care. That's the same with our state and local law enforcement partners.
And when they're attacked by political leaders, does it make it easier or